Hi everyone, welcome back. By now you should have reviewed the e-cigarette article and answered the questions on the activity guide. And we're going to kind of review some of the findings from that. The first question on your activity guide is, what is the purpose of this study? And I've asked you on your activity to include the information or answer the questions in your own words. And I have done the same thing here. And so my answer to that question in my own words is that this study looked at how old students were when they started using e-cigarettes and other tobacco products. Now you notice I've included a citation here. Anytime you're paraphrasing information from an article, you should include a citation. The format of the citation may vary depending upon what style guide you're using, but there should always be some sort of citation anytime you're including any information from an article. Now, my information came from this spot in the journal article that you reviewed. It's on page 163 in the background section, which you'll notice the background section isn't labeled as the background section, but usually, almost always, the first section of an article is the background literature review introduction section of the paper. And they say in that section, the purpose of this study was to examine trends in age of initiation of e-cigarettes across 5 cohorts and how these trends compare with those observed for other tobacco products in a large nationally representative sample of young people in the United States. You can find the purpose of the article also in several other places in the manuscript. The title gives you a little bit of information about what the purpose is. The abstract gives you the objectives, and which is the purpose of the study, and the discussion section also reiterates what the purpose is. The next question is, what gap is being filled by this study? And in my words, the gap would be that there don't seem to be any studies that look at how the age at which students begin using tobacco products has changed over time. And the information from the journal article I used to come up with that statement is on page 163. Again, it's in the background section. You'll almost always find the gaps. If they're listed in the article, they'll almost always be in the background section. If you can't find it there, check the discussion section, it might be there. Although the increasing prevalence of e-cigarette use is well documented, no studies to our knowledge have examined whether age at initiation of e-cigarette use has changed across time, and how changes in initiation of e-cigarettes compares with changes in initiation of other tobacco products. The next question asks you to briefly summarize the main steps or the measurements that the authors used in their study. And my version of this is rather lengthy. The authors used data from the National Youth Tobacco Survey. Specifically, they examined the responses to the question, how old were you when you first tried a tobacco product, even once or twice? There were 26,000 adolescents aged 16 to 17. In this sample, 49% of the participants were male and 67% were white. The researchers divided the responses into 6 age categories for each type of tobacco product. And I got that information, really the entire methods section in this paper contributed to my paraphrase of that. This paper has a relatively short methods section, so it really wasn't too cumbersome to really kind of dig into what the methods said and read the whole section. Many papers have a longer methods section, and you might need to kind of be judicious in the information you pull out of the methods section and the information you read. Again, the goal is not to read the entire paper, it's just to find the information that helped meet your goals for reviewing this article. The abstract also has a summary statement of what their methods were. You want to know what the primary findings are on the paper? My version of this is in 2014, 63% of students started using e-cigarettes at the age of 16 or 17. In 2018, this number decreased to 42.7%. In 2014, 8.8% of students started using e-cigarettes at the age of 14 or younger, compared to 28.6% in 2018. The difference between age groups is statistically significant. There were not any significant differences in the ages at which students started using other tobacco products. And I found this information from the results section, and this is the passage that I used. There's also some findings, some results information in the discussion section. Usually the discussion section will kind of summarize the results in the first few sentences and in the abstract. And finally, you want to know what the authors conclude. And remember that the discussion and conclusion is the author's interpretation of their findings and doesn't necessarily reflect fact, unbiased fact. Okay. My statement here is that over time, more adolescents are starting to use e-cigarettes and other tobacco products at younger ages. Early use of tobacco products is a public health problem due to evidence of issues with brain development and the respiratory system. Researchers should monitor whether age of initiation of tobacco products continues to decrease and should consider implementing tobacco prevention programs. And there are many places in the discussion that helped me compile my summary statement of the author's interpretations of their findings or their conclusions. One thing I want to also point out is I talked about citing, paraphrasing, but when you're pulling direct quotes from an article, you also have to cite those. You have to put them in quotation marks and you have to indicate what page number they came from. You need to be able to make it so that anybody who's reading this paper can easily find that quote from the original source. So ultimately, finally, depending upon the goals, you may need to need to review some portions of an article. If you find that the information in the article doesn't meet your objectives, if it's not relevant to your goals, it's okay to quickly discard that article and move on to the next one. You don't want to spend a lot of time reading an article that's not relevant to your needs. Normally at this point in the talk, I would have a question and answer session. I would let you ask me questions and I would do my best to answer them. Since we are not live today, please, if you have any questions, if there's anything I can help clarify for you, please email me. Here's my name and my email address. Thank you. I enjoyed being with you today.